If you have a lot of white centers in your chart or know someone that does, you are going to love this video because today we are going to be looking at the hanging gates within your chart and how you attract other people in, forming an electromagnetic connection with others in your life. This is mega insightful in regards to the information you're here to learn in this lifetime and who you attract from a relationship standpoint.
Welcome to Frequency of Self, your go-to resource for the practical application of human design in life, business, and relationships. If you're ready to experience lasting transformation, hit subscribe.
Full transparency, on this channel, I have both beginner intro videos as well as deep dives where I can get extremely nerdy. And this is going to be one of those that's a little bit more on the deep dive perspective. So if you're brand new to human design, I highly suggest starting with this video in the cards here. If you want to dive deep with me and absorb this information, even if you get confused, by all means, I invite you to do so. Today, we're going to be diving into something that is so rarely discussed in the human design community, and I don't quite understand why, because it has been one of the most impactful teachings within human design for me. And that is because I have 7 undefined centers in my chart. When you have 7 undefined centers, you have a lot of hanging gates. Now, these gates act like a magnetic charge that is attracting in the other side. So you're going to find often throughout your life that you are going to attract people that have the opposite side of the hanging gates that you have, meaning that you're going to have access to that full energy as well as the definition of both centers on either side. It's also extremely important to note that these hanging gates are also impacted by the planetary transits. I truly see it as God's way of putting certain people in our lives at certain stages, as well as giving us wisdom over the ages in order to learn certain lessons. So understanding what these activations are in your chart is going to give you a lot more clarity in the bigger picture perspective on who you are and what you are here to learn in this lifetime. Part 1, find your starting point. Now, if you are like me and you have a lot of white within your chart, undefined centers, you're going to have a lot of these hanging gates, and it can be confusing as to which one you actually start with. So I want to first begin by helping you hone in and focus on different activations within your chart by giving you some clues into areas to look for. The first place to look in your human design chart is at the Incarnation gates. These 4 activations make up what we call your Incarnation cross in human design, which reveals the purpose that your life is here to take. Now, the first thing to note is that some of these gates might be within a formed channel. And if that is the case, then this is something that is not going to be impacted by other people. Now, some of these other activations might not be in a formed channel. This is where electromagnetics are going to be big in your life, both via other people as well as the planets moving in the sky. So you have one side of that gate, and understanding what that one side is can be mega beneficial. And then understanding who it is that you attract, what qualities in other people you're going to attract, and what energy you are having access to when you get into those relationships with those people can be mega beneficial. I also want to note that I have another video on how to read a human design chart using ChatGPT. So you don't have to be an analyst in order to do this analysis. You can hop over and watch that video next at the end of this one. I will link to it both at the end of this video and in the description below. So for now, stick with me. The second thing you'll look at in your chart is energy reaching the throat. Now, this needs a little bit of an explanation, so stick with me. All energy goes to the throat in human design, both from the bottom moving to the throat and the top down. This is because all energy wants to be expressed, and that's because when we can communicate an idea with someone, then things can actually get put into place to bring it into reality or to make it happen. So when you're looking at your chart, you might have your throat activated already. This will not be relevant for you. But if you are someone like me that has activation in the bottom area of your chart or only the top part and don't have the throat activated, then you're going to want to look at the electromagnetics required in order to get the energy to the throat. Now, this can be a little bit harder to explain, but let me use my chart as an example to show you what I mean. So you can see that I have a lot of energy in the root center. Almost every single gate is activated in that area. It is then coming out of the root into the spleen via 2838. Then the only activation I have coming out of the spleen towards the throat is the 44. Then I do not have 26, 21, or 45. Now this would be the fastest connection to the throat. And you might be asking, how come she didn't just use 5720 to get to the throat? And while that is something that could be a possibility of how my energy gets to the throat, from my personal experience and looking at the people that have been attracted in my life, I find that I attract a whole lot more people with these other frequencies. And I partially think that is because of the electromagnetic energy between 44 and 26. I'll break down a little bit more of my personal story in this area later in the video, but for now, I just want to give you this example. And if you're confused, just don't do this section. Like I said, we be getting nerdy in this video, and I'm not going to apologize for it. So if you're enjoying it, please be sure to click like. The third place to look is motor center activations. So there are 4 motors in the human design chart that carry some sort of energy. This is the root, the sacral, the ego, and the solar plexus. Looking at the electromagnetics in these 4 centers can help you understand when you are relatively close to having access to one of these additional motors. So you might be someone that doesn't have any defined motors, and yet if you have a lot of hanging gates in this area, that means that you're going to be experiencing energy in relationships and or the planets moving in the sky relatively often. And this is why I believe that it can be really dangerous when people look at their chart and say, I'm a mental projector and I don't have energy. Because the reality is you do have access to energy through being part of the world. It's just that you need to be cautious of how you engage with it. Now, in some cases, the activation that you might form as an electromagnetic in these areas might actually change your type. So I want to show 2 example charts that you'll see at first look like they're relatively the same chart or very similar. But when we dive into them and look at the hanging gate level and the electromagnetic channels that could be formed in relationship with other people, as well as the transits moving in the sky, we're going to see that these 2 people would actually operate very differently. So the first person is actually my chart. You can see they have 7 open centers and we have 1 channel, the 2838. Next, we're going to look at one of my girlfriend's charts. Her name is Elena. She has 7 open centers in her chart and she only has the 2838 as well. And yet, if we zoom in on her throat, we see that she has this 12 gate that is hanging off of her throat, reaching towards the solar plexus. Now, the reason that that is important is because if she comes into contact with someone that has gate 22 in her life, or the transits moving in the sky create that definition, which at the time of recording this video will be around for a long period of time, then when she gets that activation, she is actually going to have manifestor powers. And that does not mean that she is a manifestor, but it would explain differences that she might feel in regards to being able to bring something in reality relatively quickly and or deal with these emotional urges that might be coming through for her and guiding her path forward. This becomes super interesting when you're looking at a reflector chart and all of the electromagnetics, because hanging gates in certain areas of the chart will form more definition more often in those areas. So for example, this reflector right here has a lot going on in the solar plexus region and is only 1 gate away from being a manifestor. In fact, if 12 gets activated or 36 gets activated and or was activated at her time of birth, she would have been a manifestor. This does not mean she walks through the world as a manifestor, but it does mean that often she is going to experience that energy and what it would feel like to be that. And as a reflector, she is going to gain a lot of insight and wisdom into how other people experience the world in that department of the chart. Now contrast that to this part of her chart, which is a lot more open, so she's not going to experience definition in that chart as often. Now let's look at an opposite reflector example. You can see here that there are a lot of activations coming out of his sacral center. So at any moment in time, if 29, 2, 15, 52, 6, or 50, or even 57 get activated, this person has access to generator energy. And so that would reveal that this reflector is going to be more attuned to having that generator energy in their life compared to the other reflector that would have more emotional electromagnetics in her life. If you're anything like me, this is absolutely fascinating. I just don't understand why more people don't talk about it. Partially because it's confusing as hell to talk about. That's just between you and I. Part 2, real life examples. All right, so we just covered a lot, and I want to kind of ground us in where we are in this video and where we're going. So you're sure to stick with me because this is only going to get more exciting from here. So what we just covered is how to spot different areas in your chart to be able to hone in on studying those electromagnetics in your life and how they actually influence you. And as you can see, there's a lot of different places to look. So now I want to dive into several examples of how I have analyzed these electromagnetics in my own life and how it has given me a bigger picture perspective of who I am and how I interact with the world. After this analysis, I'll kick you off to the video on how to read your chart using ChatGPT so that you can dive deeper into your activations. Or if you want to dive deeper with a pro like me, you can book a reading in the description below. So let's break down how this showed up in my life. So my incarnation gates are 28, 27, 33, and 19. And 28 is within the one channel that I have. So we can nix that from the electromagnetic conversation. So let's begin by looking at my conscious sun, which is gate 33. Now, the first thing that you're going to do is really analyze, what is this gate? What is the meaning of it for you? So gate 33 for me is really about documenting life. It is about reflecting on life. It is that period at the end of the sentence before you move forward onto the next piece. And it's really the storyteller. It is the documentarian. Then you want to look at the other side of the gate that you have and what that actually means and what the quality of that person that has that gate will show up like, right? So for gate 13, that's the listener. The 33 is the storyteller that wants to tell the stories to someone else. And gate 13 is the listener. So I'm going to attract people into my life that can hold space for that listening component. And together, we are going to be able to reflect on life and draw certain conclusions that begin to form a certain direction in life. And when I look at who has this in my life, my brother, who is 18 months older than me, has this, which means that I grew up with it for the first 18 years of my life. My dad also has it, as does my younger sister. And so I very much grew up in an environment where I was encouraged to utilize this gift that I had, and I very much operated as if I had that frequency within my chart from the very beginning. And that really served me well in my purpose unfolding, because this is part of my incarnation cross, because I did become that documentarian. I knew from a very young age that I enjoyed video, and I have continued to create videos to this point now that I'm 33, which is kind of funny that we're talking about gate 33. Now, it would be really easy to look at that gate within my chart and discount it because it's not part of a channel. But in understanding how electromagnetics work, I can understand that that was a huge conditioning field in my life, and that I did take on kind of this leadership quality that comes from having that 3313 energy. It does not mean that I have it, but it means that I'm very familiar with that energy and can understand how that shows up in interaction with other people, as well as the planets moving in the sky. So just like I looked at gate 33 to really understand this quality within myself and what role I play versus what role other people play in this electromagnetic relationship and how that begins to form the trajectory of my life, you would also look at the other two activations, at least in my experience, that don't have a defined channel activating them within my incarnation cross gates. But for the sake of speed in this video, and so it's not a million minutes long, we're going to skip to the next section. So now we're going to look at how energy reaches the throat within my chart. It goes 38 to 28 to 44, 26, 21, 45. So I would really be curious about these people that I draw in, especially with gate 26. And so I would really want to know who are the people in my life that had 26 and what is 44 and what is 26, so that I understand the role that I play and I understand the electromagnetic of the people that come in my life as well. In understanding that electromagnetic, it has given me a lot of insight into my business, because gate 44 is very much that positioning angle. It is a gift of being able to position something for someone to transmit a message in order to help them to survive better. But the 26 is the salesman that's able to put the right words on a page in order for that to hit. But they need what I have in order for that positioning and the words to come together. So really understanding that on my own, I need to kind of leverage other people in order to really like bring this trait out of me in a way. And so what I've found that this has happened is that I have created these activations in my own life, and this has like created a big part of my pathway. I basically became an entrepreneur. This is the 4426 channel. Now I do not have gate 26, 21, and 45. I have found very much that that is a very strong electromagnetic in my life. My sister had 26 growing up, so I grew up with it my whole life, and I ended up marrying someone that has 21. My son has 45, and so these are big electromagnetics in my life that help me deliver the message that I'm really here to share with the tribe, because that's kind of what that flow of energy is all about. And I've really built my entire business around that, helping people transmit a message to their tribe. The next example is to dive into the motors, and I went a little into analysis when I was explaining this in the first time, and I definitely explained the sacral center. So I want to start by explaining the ego center instead, and what that looks like when that is activated in my life via electromagnetics. So if we look at this center, I am only one gate away from activating 3 of those channels. I often come across people with, once again, either 26, 51, or even 37 in my life. This has been a very conditioning factor for me, because while I do not have the ego defined in my chart, I often have it defined in my chart in interaction with other people, as well as the planets moving in the sky. And so there is this conditioning factor of having an undefined ego where there's this tendency to prove yourself. And when I look at the specific activations too, I can understand how that proving might come about. And so in learning that I really need to focus on not proving myself and not overcompensating in these areas of my life, it has brought a lot less resistance into my life and created a lot more streamlined energy when going after business ventures and also just in my relationships at large. Holy moly, that felt like a roller coaster of a video to record. I've been recording for over an hour and 12 minutes, and I don't think this video is going to be that long. Some of the parts took me a lot longer. So if you are watching this video and if you enjoyed it, please do me a favor, click like so we can get it out to more people. And if you are watching this at this stage, I want to know who you are. Go ahead and comment a fire emoji in the comments below so that I know you're my people, and share your experience with me as well. And if you want to watch that video on how to read your chart using ChatGPT, you can do that on the screen now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you there.